The Meeting of the Waters is an event held by CEPAS USP and the SACRE project. And for this event today, in partnership with UNESCO. So today we have 4 special guests. I'd like to thank you immensely for agreeing to participate in the event. First, I'd like to introduce Michelle. Michelle Friend is a PhD researcher in groundwater and at TU Delft. Also, he is working with UNESCO as a national consultant for the management of Mediterranean coastal aquifers and the assessment of marine and freshwater interactions and submarine groundwater discharge. Michelle is an independent groundwater modeler working on different projects. He holds a master in water science and engineering, a master in civil and environmental engineering, a master in oil and gas, and finally a master in water and science from San Jose University of Peru. In addition to his academic and professional background, Michelle serves as chair of the steering committee of the Groundwater Youth Network, is a member of many international organizations too, such as International Water Resource Associations and the International Association of Hydrogeologists. Michelle will introduce the Groundwater Youth Network. Michelle, the floor is yours.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you, Daniela, for introduction and everyone for organizing this meeting. So looking forward to our discussions today. So shall I share the screen from my side or GWYN from your side for the presentation?
This is my side, just a moment, Fernando.
Okay, take your time.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so as mentioned by Daniela, I'll introduce the objectives and what we did as Groundwater Youth Network in the past year and some other activities, how to join us, etc. So we can move to the next slide, please. So as you know, 2022 was the year of groundwater on the international level. So it was focusing mostly on making it visible, which was the theme of this year, 2022, for the World Water Day. So that was mostly one of the drivers that led to the formation of the Groundwater Youth Network, but also our colleague Mahmoud from UNESCO will further describe the background and the history of the formation of the Groundwater Youth Network. So next slide. Next, please. Yeah, so I will talk about the objectives of this network. So the main objective is to enhance the engagement of youth in addressing water security issues and in particular groundwater issues. So the specific objectives are to create a youth network of groundwater ambassadors of change, empower young groundwater professionals and support their development by involving them in decision-making processes and promoting their participation in international groundwater activities. Also, we aim to identify key joint priorities to implement initiatives related to groundwater and youth, and to integrate our perspective as youth also in the preparation of UNESCO IHP's groundwater activities and events. And we will have a very concrete example in a few slides that you will see how we made it. Next, please. So so every year we have 2 general assemblies. So obviously this was our first year. So we were born last year in March 2022. So we turned 1 year old a few weeks ago. But between our first General Assembly in July 2022 and our second General Assembly that took place also a few weeks ago in March 2023, the number of members of our network increased by 400 members. So now we are 1,250 members from 113 countries. Next, now we will focus on some statistics. So as you see, Latin America and the Caribbean, unfortunately, it has the lowest percentage of participants in our network. So that shows the importance of such meetings. For example, in Latin America, South America, to try to make a better balance between the different regions. So as you see, the largest number of members is from India and Nigeria, and third is Egypt. And the age categories are mostly like young professionals, so everyone is below 35 and above 18. So we have also a lot of students between 21 and 25. And the gender balance is also kind of okay, although we can also further enhance it. Next, please. So from Brazil, we have 15 members, so they only represent 1% of the members of Groundwater Youth Network. Although Brazil itself as a country, it contributes to like 2.7% of the world's population. So let's aim to increase this number to become like this 1%, to make it also 2.7%. So let's try to have like more members from Brazil, 15 or 20 more members. This will make like the number consistent with the world's population share also of Brazil. So out of those 15 members, I noticed also that most of them are 25 years and older. So we are most likely missing the young students in this case. So if you can also help us in this way to reach like those young students below 25, that would also be important. So next, please. So in 2022, we did some activities, as you may see here in the slide. I will not go into all of them because we won't have time to discuss them all. But mainly the first quarter of the year was mostly to form the network itself. The second quarter was to try to start our first visibility on the international level. But in the third quarter, we started to do like more serious involvement in many events, and also to make our network stronger internally. So we worked a lot on internal issues, and in the last quarter, as you see, the number of events and contributions increased drastically as compared to the first ones, and it ended with the Groundwater Youth Forum that we organized as a plenary session in the UN Water Summit on Groundwater that took place in Paris at UNESCO's headquarters, and we will see some slides about that also in the next one, please. Not in the next one, so it will come in a few slides. So here I show also one of our, in preparation to one of our events, we also had a form like addressed to youth to get their opinion on many issues related to groundwater. One of them was to collect feedback on their perspectives in terms of what they suggest like as main topics for them. So the first one was education and training. So there's a clear and obvious lack in groundwater education worldwide. Also to make the groundwater monitoring more modern, also to get more funding to have monitoring. So we see that youth are very aware on the importance of groundwater monitoring. Also to involve them as stakeholders and to apply citizen science. And we see also that a distribution on their opinion on their involvement in groundwater issues in their countries. For example, we see Brazil that according to the different answers we received, so it was a partial involvement, a partial acceptance on the level of their involvement in groundwater related issues in Brazil. So also you can share in the chat box probably your opinion on how you think youth involvement in groundwater in Brazil is okay, or it can be better, it's not okay, etc. So I would like to hear from you also. Next, please. So here we see some figures from some photos from the Groundwater Youth Forum that I talked about a few seconds ago. So we had many activities. So the Youth Hub, a side event dedicated for youth, where you see also Daniela discussing with one of the legends of groundwater here, Professor John Cherry, and also you see in the bottom left, the plenary session, the Groundwater Youth Forum itself. And on the right, you see the first ever youth declaration on groundwater. So that was built based on different consultation sessions with youth from all over the world. And we took also this declaration to New York in the UN Water Conference a few weeks ago also. Next slide, please. And I can share also a link if you want to read more details about this declaration. So in 2023, so we started the water year with the UN Water Conference, as you may know, and the theme is accelerating change. So we took, as I mentioned, this youth declaration to New York, and it was announced by also our colleague Mahmoud in in the main groundwater session there. And we had also many participants from the network having a lot of activities. Next. So as I mentioned, we participated in the main groundwater session. We also participated in many sessions that took place in the General Assembly. We organized the youth morning briefing sessions, and many of our members also made many interventions at different sessions where we tried also to highlight the importance of groundwater and to take it into account on in high level international events. Next. And also we were part of the global youth movement for water, where we developed with other organizations the key youth demands from the UN Water Conference, and those events were raised, and an advocacy campaign also took place to further highlight those demands. We can also share, if you are interested in them, what are those demands in the chat box. Next, please. So that's it in brief. I had like 10 minutes or less. So you can follow us on our social media platform on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. You can also scan this QR code to join us as a member. And I can also share it in the chat box, the link, so you can easily join us. And we are looking forward to having more members from Brazil in the network, and to get your contributions and to all together make a change in the groundwater sector in Brazil and worldwide. And thank you, or obrigado in Portuguese.
Obrigada.
Obrigado.
Oh, thank you very, very much, Michelle, and happy birthday again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now I'd like to introduce Mohammed Randall. Mohammed is a PhD student at École Polytechnique of Paris and a water research and development expert currently serving as a project officer at UNESCO headquarters in Paris too. He is graduated in environmental engineering and has a master's degree in development practice from the University of Waterloo. Mohammed is high experience in water governance, monitoring, research data dissemination, management, and diplomacy, and has worked on transboundary water cooperation projects too, data gathering and dissemination, and training for water experts. Mohammed also is a dedicated youth advocate for water-related issues, having founded the Groundwater Youth Network and engaged in several related initiatives. Mohammed's dedications to advance the principle of the water reuse and circular economy has made him a leading voice in this critical area. Mohammed, please, can you tell us why the Groundwater Youth Network was created?
Thank you so much, Daniela, for inviting me to this session, and thank you, Michelle, for introducing the Groundwater Youth Network. Such a pleasure to be here, and thank you all. Yes, as Daniela mentioned, my name is Mahmoud Radwan. I work directly in the UNESCO's headquarters in Paris. It has been for me almost 4 years working there, and I would be pleased to answer your question regarding why actually UNESCO decided to start the Groundwater Youth Network, and what was there in the past and what are we foreseeing in the future. And for this, if you may go to the next slide, please. Before answering your question fully, I want to first introduce who is like the UNESCO IHP and what are we doing currently. And as Michelle was introducing that, the network was created by UNESCO IHP, and UNESCO IHP stands for the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program. And basically, it's a program that started in 1975, and it's the sole intergovernmental body. And by mentioning that it's an intergovernmental body, it means that it's a mechanism, it's a body that coordinates between different member states to basically work on specific goals and targets. And each strategy is foreseen for 8 years, and we just finalized or concluded our 8th phase that ended in 2021. And since 2022, we started our 9th phase, which is IHP 9 until 2029, which puts the science as an action for water secure world. This is actually the theme. And basically in IHP, we seek to enable all the stakeholders that we are working with to participate in like the creation of the new sustainable water culture. And basically this is mainly one of our objectives for IHP 9. In UNESCO IHP, we encourage like the holistical hydrological research and knowledge generation to assist member states in research and training activities. And for this phase, we are mainly focusing on 5 priority areas. The first one is scientific research and innovation. Second one is water education. In the fourth, industrial revolution, included sustainability. The third one is bridging the data knowledge gap. And fourth one is inclusive water management under the condition of global change. And the last one is actually on water governance based on science for mitigation, adaptation, and resilience. And basically on these 5 main themes, we are working with all our teams to enhance our work towards our member states. If you can go to the next slide, please. Mainly, yes, thank you. Mainly, I work in the groundwater section, and the groundwater section is is called Groundwater Sustainability and Water Cooperation. Among 3 different sections of UNESCO, we have also the water hydrology and climate change, and we're having the water governance and eco-hydrology, 3 different sections within the UNESCO IHP. And mainly our groundwater section that I'm working on is one of the key pillars that UNESCO IHP is well known for. We have been working in the groundwater since 80s. And mainly UNESCO IHP has been always a key player in any mega main events on groundwater. Basically, we highlight our work mainly to address the methods for sound development and exploitation, protection of groundwater resources. That includes for sure the developing and implementing innovative techniques and technologies for sustainable groundwater use. Also, we promote the best practices for groundwater management. And mainly our section is committed to strengthening the groundwater governance policy and water user rights in emergency situations. And basically in all these challenges, we emphasize on highlighting the need for the comprehensive research implementation through new science-based methodologies. And this is basically what we are looking for to address these key issues, to secure groundwater resources, to make sure that they are well managed, equitably managed, and sustainably managed as well. If you can go to the next slide, please. A small example on our project that we're working on in UNESCO. What we do, as you may know, we are the co-custodian agency working on transboundary water cooperation indicator, which is the SDG indicator 6.5.2. We work together hand in hand with our co-custodian agency, UNECE, Economic Commission for Europe. And mainly our main goal in the, the SDG 652 is only on transboundary cooperation between the different member states or riparian countries on any water basins. With UNECE, our main specialty is to track the cooperation over the transboundary aquifers. And of course, if you didn't read yet the progress report on SDG 6.5.2, I invite you to quickly Google like SDG Indicator Progress Report 2021, and you would see where are we standing with the cooperation on that. Another different project that we're working that Michelle is working on is the management of coastal aquifers in related ecosystems of the Mediterranean. As you know, in the Mediterranean, we're having 10 different countries sharing aquifers like transboundary coastal aquifers, and our main idea is to share the knowledge and enhance the cooperation over the transboundary precious resource. Moreover, we also work in the Dectus region, which is in Eastern Europe. We have also a couple of other projects in Southern Africa. The one in Latin America that you might be familiar with is in Central America, actually. It's Octapicacitala between Honduras and El Salvador. It's one of the main projects, and we just managed to sign the new cooperation for the aquifer in Amazonas. And we're starting working on this project really soon. It's actually the newest agreement that we managed to sign between the neighboring countries sharing this resource. As you may know, we have only 7 agreements for transboundary aquifers in the world, and this one comes the 7th. So I think it's quite an achievement that we managed to achieve so far. Moving forward, we also have something in Southern Africa, in Northern Africa, the Nubian Sandstone Aquifer, and they are all different projects. So this is basically what we're working on, is to make sure that we are enhancing the capacities of the aquifers for our member states in UNESCO. If you can move to the next slide, please. Thank you so much. As you know, like Michelle was mentioning, that during the past year, in which we call the Groundwater Year 2022, it was the theme for the World Water Day, and basically UNESCO HP played the major role and the main coordinator on behalf of all UN Water body to lead the theme and the campaign of groundwater making the invisible visible. And this campaign, we aim to raise awareness about the crucial role that groundwater plays in our daily lives, and the need for sustainable management of groundwaters. Also, the highlight, of course, of this campaign was what we're calling the cherry on the cake, where we had our UN Water Summit on Groundwater that took place from 6 to 8 December 2022, in which Michelle was describing earlier, where we had a major role also as a Groundwater Youth Network. And during this summit, like we had the first of all UN Water joint message and call for action on groundwater, which was presented and which was translated also to the UN Conference 2023, since it was a message like prepared by all the UN Water Task Force and sent to all member states requesting their commitments. Moving to the following slide, as I was mentioning, like we also played a significant role in the conference, UN Water Conference in New York, that was organized after 46 years after the first intergovernmental conference, which was in Argentina, in Mar del Plata. And mainly the conference, for those who didn't follow, it was aiming to undertake a comprehensive review of the implementation for the International Decade for Action. and the Water for Sustainable Development, the Water Action Decade, which is 2018 until 2028. And basically, UNESCO, this is, since it's an intergovernmental body, we're trying to bringing all the messages and the key stakeholders to discuss and analyze the progress towards this decade. And we played a very big role in organizing the main groundwater session that Michelle was mentioning that we participated in as Groundwater Youth Network. Moving to the following slide, which is almost slide 4 last. This is another timeline like the one that Michelle shared with you earlier, but this is mainly on the main groundwater events that I wanted to highlight to you so that you can have it in your calendars now. Try to save in your calendars where are we doing our events and where are we going until the upcoming forum. Of course, we just finalized the UN Water Conference 2023 and then the World Water Day for sure. The high-level panel forum will be taking place in July. But mainly there is the UN Water meeting taking place during the World Water Week that will be taking place in Stockholm. We'll be also discussing the role of groundwater during the forum and where are we going next. Then the General Assembly of the UN in September. Moving, there is the World Water Congress of IWRA. It's a very interesting event if you wish to follow. And then the IH Congress, the International Association for Hydrogeologists Congress, this year will be taking place in Cape Town. A couple of our colleagues will be also attending, as well as members of the network. And then there is the SDG Summit, in which we are all waiting the information about. It comes as also a midterm review somehow. And then the COP, the groundwater will be highlighted also as COP. We are participating as one of the main coordinating networks as the Groundwater Youth Network in the COP28 taking place in United Arab Emirates in November. Last but not least, we will be looking forward in 2024 for the forum, 10th World Water Forum in Bali, and also the Summit of the Future in New York in early 2024. Last but not least, in the upcoming slide, why did we decide to have a Groundwater Youth Network? Basically, as you can see, what UNESCO IHP is involved in the main events related to groundwater, always whereas groundwater UNESCO is there. And since then, we faced the very big challenges that we couldn't integrate youth as much as we could have dreamed of. And then this came true during the preparations for the Groundwater Summit, in which we found that we don't know we're not close quite to the groundwater people, the groundwater young experts. And since then we decided we wanted to engage more with youth and basically given the priority of youth in UNESCO's agenda and the UNESCO operational strategy on youth that was started 2014 to 2021, our division of water sciences committed to be engaging more with young people, not as only recipients, but also as change makers and leaders. And I believe our division is really believing in that. And then therefore they decided to establish the Groundwater Youth Network in the World Water Forum in Dakar in 2022 to make sure that the effort in involving young scientists is actually taking place. And the main idea was to start piloting the Groundwater Youth Network as a model, success model we hope that we can have, and then we can replicate towards other different themes. Last but not least, once we founded the network, now it's being only led and steered by its members, by the steering committee, in which Michelle was mentioning that we're having a member from each organization working on youth and water, and they are nominating one member to join the steering committee, and I believe it has been going very smooth. Then we are finalizing almost the upcoming elections for the upcoming year. And please, I invite you whenever you're having any questions, please let us know. And I think that will be all. Thank you so much. Back to you, Daniela.
Mohammed, thank you very, very much. So now I'm going to tell a little bit about Sabina. Sabina Katri is a hydrogeologist. She is currently working on groundwater policy and climate change as a visiting scholar at the United Nations University Flores in Germany. Also, she works for the Ministry of the Water Resources and Irrigation of Nepal. She is a co-principal investigator on several projects related to water and climate change in Nepal. She graduated from TU Darmstadt with a specialization in tropical hydrogeology and environmental engineering. At Groundwater Youth Network, she serves as a leader of the project steering committee, which is responsible for organizing groundwater activities based on 5 different UNESCO regions. Furthermore, she is involved in many other outreach activities over different organizations. Sabina, could you give us an overview of Groundwater Youth Network activities in 2022 and its next steps, please?
Thank you, Daniela. Hello,
Welcome.
everyone, and a big hello to University of Sao Paulo family, because we can find people from Sao Paulo everywhere, even in Berlin. I met 3 people in last 30 days, one from archaeology, one from civil engineering. So big hello to USP family. And plus, let me welcome you all once again. And I'm going to talk about our activities so far and our plans for the future, and what we are, what is the objective of this particular event that we are currently conducting with all of you. So yeah, with that said, I would like to move on with our presentation. So as you saw, we had 1,250 members in Michelle's presentation. So how are those 1,250 members working? So we have this steering committee, which consists of vice chair, chair, and rapporteur. And all those 1,250 members voluntarily sign up for this 5 different committees. As you can see, we have scientific committee, we have communication committee, we have project coordination committee, outreach committee, and partnership committee. So this event today we are conducting under project coordination committee, because we have leaders from 5 different UNESCO regions throughout the world. And Daniela is one of our regional leaders from Latin America. And she is one of, that is what we are trying to develop with this project. And we want to coordinate along with the regional leaders and conduct regional activities to make it more effective. And next slide, please. Yes, yes, and the activity today is under Project Coordination Committee. If you are willing to join this committee, please let us know. Or if you are going for other committee, let us know. We will share the membership form at the end, or it is already shared in the chat. I am just going to talk specific about Groundwater Youth Network now. And so this committee, if you're interested in this committee, we conduct general assemblies, we conduct regional activities, especially because we want to go on a regional scale, because each and every region has this particular groundwater story. And we got to, according to our experience, what has been always the problem that there is always a barrier of language, and we want to go in a micro scale, local scale, with which will break that barrier of language. And we are trying to promote groundwater awareness through local language. So we are going for activities that can be conducted in local language, and that can create awareness in local language in every region, for Africa, for Latin America, for for Arab states. So we have been doing that. We have already started doing that, and it has been effective. So that is the rationale behind why we are going regional and why we are conducting activities like this, like the one we are in now. And yes, next please. So as you can see, this is the UNESCO regions. So we have been conducting different activities in 5 different regions in a systematic way, which I will tell you later on. So next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So what has been our activities so far since the network has been established? So once the network was formally established and the project coordination committee was announced in July, so we started making a call for regional leaders. So we made this call, and it was open. It was an open call, and everyone who were interested and are member of Groundwater Youth Network can apply for it. So if you are interested to highlight the groundwater stories, groundwater related issues, or groundwater success stories or problems in the region, I think that this is the right platform. And next is, so after that, what we did is selected all the members and segregated all the data, and we did a 2-step regional youth consultation in 5 different regions. So first was initial consultation, and then we had this Google form where all the participants had to answer certain set of questions, and those questions were the fundamentals of our youth declaration. So we did a first questionnaire survey, and then we discussed on it, and those were our basis for drafting our youth declaration, which went into different iteration processes, but that is the source of our youth declaration. So it is the voice of youth all around the world. So that's where we want to say we are inclusive and we are trying to make a difference. And next is one of the biggest output we have done so far is we developed 4-minute video from the youth all around the world, and where they gave the message related to groundwater and what is the problem in that area and what could be the potential solution. So that their voice were included. And as I just mentioned, there's the youth declaration, which is based on those youth consultation workshop we conducted over the period of 4 months, and which was presented in UNESCO UN Groundwater Summit 2022, followed by for further discussion, and which will be compliant and the source towards water action agenda on behalf of the Groundwater Youth Network. Next, please. So what have we done so far in terms of our network's activities in Latin America? So as you can see, we have conducted this workshop, youth consultation workshop, and also you can see in our side event with Professor Cherry Dani was there, and we have Lucia speaking on behalf of Latin America for the video highlighting the issues in Latin America. So, and then when that was the point when we realized, okay, we must have more activities in Latin America because representation from Latin America was so low. We had to reach people personally to send the video. So that is also why today's event is very important, and that is why we highly appreciate CEPAS USP and USP's initiative today on conducting this activity. It's very important for Latin America, not only for our network, because groundwater message that was so much there in open was not, nobody was there on behalf of Latin America. So we want to start this mainstreaming, this initiative. We would like to say we would like to start this first step towards highlighting the problems in Latin America and being vocal about it. And we just got to recognize, and on behalf of, we concluded that there is a language barrier and people are not willing to share and talk about groundwater or any issues in public. So that was what our regional leaders from Latin America gave us the feedback. But ultimately Lucia was there, and we got some materials from Latin America and some speakers on the region's behalf. And next is again the next slide, please. So this is again our other activities since 2022 to 2023. Again, you can see Yolanda Lopez. She's representing indigenous groundwater people. So indigenous knowledges and indigenous ideas in groundwater management in our Groundwater Youth Forum at the UN Groundwater Summit 2022 in December in Paris. And this is our second, you can see our second General Assembly here. You might find some of yourselves here. And this is our youth declaration. This is our half the members. So we have been doing these activities so far. Next. So way forward is, and way forward, why we are describing this is these are our plans. So we want to go on a regional scale in local language. And next biggest event is we are already preparing for World Water Forum 2024. And we want to do an intergenerational webinar where we will definitely need a senior groundwater professionals will be training our youth network or giving some talk or webinar on relevant topic in one region. So each region should have one intergenerational event. So next is we will have a networking event, and which we will be organizing very soon on every network, on every region. I'm sorry. So next, I'm very sorry. And then we, thank you. So why Latin America? Again, I would like to reiterate the fact that why are we again focusing on Latin America? It's because, again, we stated in the first presentation by Michelle that we have least representation, and that least representation is also not enough. We would like to say not enough, and when there are places where we need to be vocal about issues in the region, we had least representation. So Latin America and Latin America's representation in the growing network like Groundwater Youth Network is a main issue, one of the biggest issue, and we think it should not be neglected, and it should be highlighted, and we should go ahead with a proper mechanism. So that is one of the way we are looking forward to. Next. And why CEPAS USP? Why CEPAS USP? So as CEPAS USP has this 40 years of history of working in various aspects of groundwater sector, and you have diverse nature of projects that you have been implementing in, and we have the network of youth that have diversity as much as we can imagine of, with 1,250 members. I believe our partnership committee will talk something about it in a while. And so I think we can think of building some form of partnership in the future in terms of knowledge exchange or any form of partnership that we can imagine and that is conceivable and implementable or executable. So and where the objectives of both the organizations seem to be overlapping. So CEPAS USP seems to be one of the good representation in Latin America in terms of awareness activity of groundwater and empowering the youth, like it is being done through activities like this. Next slide, please. Yes, and with that said, please let us know if you have any question or any queries or any comments. And yeah, if you are, and so there you can see 2 QR codes. One is to Linktree, or other is to membership form. But you already have the link, and yeah, we look forward to further discussion at the end, I guess. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Sabina. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, Pablo can't be here today, but he left us a video. So I will pass right now the video, but the problem is the video is in Portuguese because Pablo wanted to speak in Portuguese for Brazil. So, just a moment.
Thank you, Daniela, for having this meeting. I think it's very important for Latin American people. So I want to give a message, but in Portuguese, because I need to practice too. So, eu quero deixar uma mensagem para nos motivar e incentivar a participar dessa rede. Sei como é difícil a barreira do idioma. É uma experiência muito boa. Buscamos nos conectar a causa do impacto não só em cada país, mas também mundialmente. No meu país, na Guatemala, infelizmente não temos uma lei que regule o uso adequado da água e nem temos uma lei que regule o uso das águas subterrâneas. Não sei como será a legislação atual no Brasil, mas según varios análisis, na América Latina no temos tanta crise de água como outros países, mas as mudanças climáticas podem mudar muitas coisas. É importante que a gente, os jovens, se envolvam em iniciativas e políticas públicas para ter maior impacto. A África é a região que mais envolve com a questão da água. É claro que a necessidade de água é muito forte para eles. Em comparação com outras regiões do planeta, na América Latina e no Caribe, a porcentagem de uso de água subterrânea é menor. Dá 30% das extrações de água doce vêm de aquíferos. Mas, por exemplo, na Costa Rica e no México, as águas subterrâneas abastecem 70% das residências nas áreas urbanas e atendem praticamente toda a demanda nas áreas rurais. Então, eu acho que temos vários desafios em relação às águas subterrâneas. Por exemplo, estabelecer a importância do recurso em zonas áridas e semiáridas. Estabelecer também que o crescimento populacional e o impacto das mudanças climáticas faz a dependência cada vez maior das águas subterrâneas. Aumento da poluição da água, o problema de intrusão salina, principalmente nas islas do Caribe. Também existem muitos conflitos pelo uso da água e também temos que ter mais acordos, porque não existe.
Olha aquele copo lá fora, ó. Sério, sempre aqui. Você não vai botar nada por cima, você vai de cueca. Você vai de cueca.
So sorry. Now we have 5 minutes for questions. If you have questions, you can raise your hand and turn on your microphone. Now if someone. Thank you, Claudia, to advise me. So I don't know if someone have questions. If not, if no one else have questions, Omar.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Omar.
Actually, I have 2 questions. One of them is just out of curiosity. I want to know, what do you think could be the reason of the lacking of the inclusion of the Latin American bodies in your youth community?
Do you want do this question for someone special?
Actually, I mean, anyone could just give me some clues or like some insights. What could be the reason of the lack of the inclusion? It would be okay. If someone just is not prepared by the answer, now it's fine.
Okay, I think the language in English, it's burden to we have more of Latin Americans, because here we speak Spanish and Portuguese. I don't know, maybe a little countries speaking English, but
that makes sense. Yeah. Another question is just regarding the participation form, the link that you have just dropped in the comment, in the chat box. I have browsed it and I noticed that there's no place where I can find or where I can select the committee if I want to participate. So I guess Sabina, she has presented like 4 or 5 different committees in the network, but they are not shown in the application form.
Okay, it should be there. I can. It should be definitely there. I can look into it. Thank you very much for the feedback. But in addition to the first question, I can let you know that we did a review on why there is no participation with the regional leaders, and as Dani mentioned, it's with the hesitance in speaking the language and thinking that English is the only language, but it is not the only language. So that is what we want to talk about and just discuss this, just tell about what is the problem. So I think that the hesitance was the reason. So I am referring to our regional leaders in Latin America. So yeah, that was our conclusion when we were getting no response, or one response at least. So thank you for the question.
Thank you so much for the answers, and thank you for the interesting event.
Thank you.
We have a question here from Vânia Oliveira. Do you know if all future jobs will engage organizations like CUP that treat environment tasks? I don't know if Sabina or Michelle or Randall wants to answer this question.
We can jointly try to answer the question, Michelle. Radwan?
Yes.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the question. Like organization like COP, what do you mean by COP? Like the COP that we know, or because COP is not like the COP that I know is not an organization by itself. If Vanya can like further elaborate her question, probably you can ask it directly. via the microphone. For the next question, so I see a next question.
Sorry, Vanya. Vanya is working now. What I say, I'm trying to pick up important points of the meeting to talk to her, but I have a doubt if the organization will involve meetings, important meetings that treat environmental themes like COP. Putting in the agenda, the discussions or the actions or something like that.
Yeah, if I understood well, so you are talking about environmental issues related to climate change. Sorry if I'm not understanding, that's not very clear.
If you want, send me an email after with your question. We can answer you
Okay, thank you.
time. Okay. So I think I think we don't have.
Yeah,
sorry.
There is a question related to transport and so on. So usually, whenever we have we are a network operating without a budget, so we're all volunteers. We don't have a budget, but whenever there is a certain speaking opportunity or participation opportunity anywhere in the world, sometimes sometimes we get some funding for 2 speakers, 1 speaker, 3 speakers, so it depends. And we are always launching very transparent calls. So through our social media account, we launch the calls and we make a selection committee. So usually the location of the member is not a barrier. So yeah, as long as we have funding for travel and so on, so it won't be a barrier. That's in response to the question of Peter Waswa in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. I think we don't have more time, but this meeting, we will share this event on YouTube in the coming days. So if someone wants to watch it again. So I'd like to thank you everyone for attending, especially for our special guests, and Fernanda Barreto and Fernando Chu, who helped organize the event too. So thank you so much. And this is all. The first
Thank you,
meeting in
Daniela.
Brazil.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. Bye. Congratulations for that.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Obrigada.
Obrigada.